Hey, so I've got a question that I want to put out there, and that is what would make you sell your stack? Now, this question came about as an individual recently left a comment on one of my videos stating that he had gone on to sell all of his precious metals and put it into crypto. Now, I can only imagine how those that despise cryptos, whilst reading that, must came across like a gut punch. But I was a little taken aback as well that the individual had taken that course of action. I mean, I don't know how much gold or silver he had, but I was under the impression he had quite a fair bit. So it came across as a drastic move, but I could totally understand why an individual would do that. And this is why I put the question out there. And it'll be real interesting if you could answer in the comments as to what would actually make you go ahead and sell all of your stack, gold and silver. And I'll just touch on a few reasons for why I wouldn't, and maybe situations that I could, and go ahead and go about doing that. So on display in the background, I've got all of my UK fractional junk silver. So you're looking at pre-1947 shillings and florins. So it's just, I believe, 50% silver. So we'll just go into them. You're looking at the dates changing there, so we've got 1945. So I'll just display these as I'm going into this. So as I've mentioned, for me personally, I couldn't see a situation or another venture coming about, investment type of venture or savings or a hedge type of venture, that I would go ahead and sell my entire stack, and maybe not even a portion of it. Now, we've all touched upon the new craze, which is cryptos, and I could see, you know, as I've mentioned in a few videos, I do find it appealing. I wouldn't necessarily take funds or metals and go ahead and purchase it into. For me, it's a new venture. I don't think you should ever, this is my own personal opinion here, I don't think you should ever actually write something off, and especially if it has the potential to go on and be the future. And I can see a lot of the traits in crypto where it can go on to be the norm at a later date, but it's not something I'm willing to personally put a large amount of funds into. Whereas, I don't know, if you take stocks and shares, that's something that I know close to nothing of, and it's something that I've personally stayed away from. Now, I can definitely see the downfalls of not being involved in it. I know individuals that have profited fantastically from being involved in it. It's just never been for me. These type of things here, when you look at something like property or even other cliche or niche, other little markets that I've been involved in, have been more my type of liking, less third party riskish, and that's what we're dealing with here. So for me, I couldn't see a situation personally where I would go ahead and sell the majority of my stack or even all of my stack into a potential new investment vehicle that could get me to my end goals. And when you're doing that, you are technically taking your funds, and I can understand an individual be taking their funds and putting them into whichever investment vehicle they believe is going to get them to their end goals. And for me, I don't think there's anything safer than precious metals currently. So, I mean, as I'm on precious metals and stacking precious metals currently, it's become somewhat of an emotional attachment to stacking, not to the actual coins, in that, and a lot of people agree with this, it does give you a sense of discipline when it comes to money and savings and even spending, and that's a fantastic benefit of stacking precious metals, and something that can work very good with those younger or getting into it if you didn't have no discipline. I've had a fair bit of good discipline when it comes to money in the past, so, but I can recklessly spend also, but the discipline it gives you is also a fantastic benefit, and the fact that you get to hold it. Now, when it comes for me, when it comes to stacking, also there's 3 scenarios that I've pre-planned or planned in advance of that I will be definitely paying most attention to when it comes to my stack. And the 3 ones are, first and foremost, a scenario where we have a drastic drop in the spot price. Now, when I purchased my metals, I believe it was around £9.50, £10 mark spot was. Now, I had anticipated for spot to actually drop below that price, and as I've mentioned before, I don't go into nothing knowing or planning for the worst case scenario. So for me, and that was a big concern for a lot of people very close to me, around me also, and that was, if I'm putting all these funds into this thing here, what's stopping it? And there's absolutely nothing stopping it. We know it's a very volatile metal, actually dropping well below the spot price, while I'm technically holding the size of my stack, as we've seen portions of, and it's now drastically reduced than what I initially paid. And just the fact that that's never happened. Now, I got in late 2014, that's never been the case. It's fantastic for me. That shows me within my own contingency plans, I had planned for that to actually happen. Not saying that it can't happen, but that's a scenario where if that was to happen, I know what course of action I would take. And for me, that wouldn't be to go on and sell my stack. It would be to go on and buy more. And even so now, that if it was to happen, I think metals are doing good. And a lot have believed it could drop that low. Now, we don't know if that could happen tomorrow. Down there at time of release and silver's taking a dump, or spot price has, it could happen, but highly unlikely we'll ever see those kind of spot prices again. Now the next scenario I envision, or I'm prepared for, and that would be a scenario where silver takes a massive hike. So we're just to say it takes a place of its highest highs. So we'll just give it $50. I believe my stack is future proof enough and ready, whereas I could also capitalize on that situation. Would I want to cash out all of my stack in that type of scenario? I doubt it. I would definitely be looking at doing at least half of my stack, cashing out and then putting into gold. But then even whilst doing that, I'd need to look at the environment, whether it could be put into a better, more stable vehicle. I wouldn't want to cash out of one high to only go and invest in another bubble. So that would be of no interest to me. So in a scenario like that, as I've mentioned, I think my stack is strong enough for Brexit proof, however you look at that, or future proof, where I could take a large portion of my stack, i.e. my foundation, and either convert it as the ratio will be in my favor, or sell a portion and go on to purchase something more stable, long term, and could be passed down for many generations, i.e. property or the likes of. And now the next scenario that I'm unprepared and planned for is a scenario that we're in right now, where we have metals just semi-yo-yoing up and down. And for some, this is where some people start to look around, but for me, I'm holding my ground in that I'm very comfortable with the metals. I'm very comfortable in the financial position I am and what I've put in, and that I don't need to draw upon it in any type of emergency. So as we have a lot of the fast down and crawl up, I can play with that, and it's led me to do a lot more, as we've seen, when it comes to the side hustling and picking up collector coins, and now flipping them to go on to end up picking up more collector coins and putting more into the stack foundation. So these are scenarios within the stacking that I'm prepared for. So none of them, or I can't envision any situation that's going to lead me to take the drastic action. Well, I believe it's drastic. I mean, a lot of people could say that technically, if you're going out from one, which is something physical and worth something and has a lot of intrinsic value, if you're putting it into something that isn't, and that could be classed as easily stocks or cryptos, then it's not the wisest of moves. But I can totally understand why an individual would do that. And this is the purpose of this video, to find out from anybody that technically would, or if you wouldn't, and why wouldn't you and why would you. So that's the purpose of this video, just to find out what would make you sell your stack. And those are the reasons why I wouldn't. If I had a dire emergency, I have funds set aside for that and other things. But if it was a life-altering change in emergency and I had to sell my stack, that would be the only situation. This would be an event that you hadn't planned for, and it's just absolute ruin all around you. I mean, that's the only thing I could see me technically selling my stack for. If spot dropped, I'm in the metals game for the long haul. As I've mentioned, I'm emotionally attached to stacking in general, and that's just picking up the metals and going on and moving forward and playing within this game here. I can't see myself losing a taste for it. If we stay in the same situation for the next X, Y, and Z years, I'm more than willing to keep on going as it is. I can't see myself stopping stacking for any reason. You know, I'm here for the long run, so we'll just see how this plays out. So once again, hate or love it, let me guys know what you think of this. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section. It'd be fantastic to hear what everybody thinks and their opinions. Go ahead and subscribe if you ain't done so already. I'll have one last look at this here. Hopefully I've got a good view of these as I've been mumbling away. And I'll catch you guys in the rebound.